Meeting of the Harbor Commissioners on September 15th, 2016. Would you please call roll?
Yes, Jim Sloan.
Here.
Bill Spicer.
Here.
Betsy Kramer.
Here.
Stephen McIntosh. Here. Merritt McRae.
Here.
Lang Sly.
Here.
Good?
We're good.
Any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, no changes this evening.
Okay. I can see we don't have anybody in the public, so I don't think we're going to have much public comment on anything on or off the agenda tonight. So, approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any questions or discussions on that, or would like to make a motion? Move to approve?
I would second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. All right. Department update. Mr. Reedman.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairs and Commissioners. Since we met last, the Council adopted an ordinance amending the Santa Barbara Municipal Code by extending the time allowed for a slip permittee to replace a vessel that is sold, donated, or otherwise permanently removed from the slip. Expanded that timeline from 120 days to 180 days to give folks more time to locate the boat of their dreams and put it in the slip. And another part of that action was to eliminate the lottery list assignment fee that formerly applied to slips assigned from the lottery waiting list. So loosening those regulations up a little bit there too to make it easier for folks to get in. Also, the Harbor Festival coming right up. Saturday, October 15th. We'll all be there, I'm sure, so we hope to see some of you folks there. Just come by and see the mayhem that's going on. Have it all again this year. Crab, lobster, oysters, barbecued albacore, paella, and uni's been very, very popular these last few years. People come up from the LA area just for that, so it's pretty neat to see. Fish tacos and so forth. Tall ship, Coast Guard cutter tours, touch tanks, and free boat rides. And the festival admission is free. And tentative agenda items for the October meeting are the 6-year capital improvement plan. We'll be opening up that, and the lease with the Santa Barbara Fish Market.
Great, thank you. I'd like to back up for just a second and note that there was attached to the minutes was an amended set of July minutes. And so if everybody's good with that, any comments on that? Okay, just wanted to note that. All right, facilities, Mr. Treiberg.
Good evening, Chair Sloan and Commissioners. Bellingham Marine Industries is set to begin construction of Phase 7 of the Marina One construction project. They're set to begin about the middle of October, kind of ironing out the exact start dates. And this Phase 7 is E, F, and G fingers. We're going to start with the smallest finger, E, and it's going to allow us to kind of accommodate more visitors at that time of the year. We got a lot of snowbirds heading south going to Mexico, and it's always difficult to start the construction too soon and take up too much of the visitor slip. So we'll be able to accommodate more people moving south, which will be kind of nice. Then we'll move on to G finger and then on to F finger. This year on F finger, we are going to add 4 slips. There's 28 existing 35-foot slips on F finger, and we'll have a 1 double berth expansion, which is 4 slips. This is where the old dry dock was located for several decades, as a matter of fact, and we spent quite a bit of time. Some of the commissioners may recall we originally had 8 slips approved, or 8 docks approved, but we reduced it down to 4 once we did an analysis of the impact that would have on that turning basin kind of just off the fuel dock. So we're going to move forward with that with a corresponding reduction in the overall price for the project. Most all of our construction projects are the same. They've got 3 main phases: demolition, installation, and utilities. Demolition's pretty straightforward. The crew goes out there with sawzalls, cuts everything up, and you can kind of see when you get a little closer look just how and what feeble shape a lot of these docks are in. I didn't have any pictures of it, but I was going to show pictures of A finger. When we started this project, 7 years ago, some of the docks looked okay and some of them didn't look so bad, but the idea was that after 8 years of continuous construction, they would continue to deteriorate. And A finger has gotten to the point where several of the fingers are no longer usable and have had to been rebuilt with wood. So that prediction is coming true and making us feel a little bit better about moving forward with this project in a manner like this. And for Commissioners Sly and McCray, we also did it to slowly and incrementally increase the slip fees to offset the debt service on it, as opposed to taking on a $14 million project all at once. We've done it in incremental phases, so we've been able to just kind of sneak up on the costs and the corresponding fee increases to make it a little more palatable for everybody else. And it's worked out quite well. Only 2 more phases to go. Dock installation's kind of fun and interesting. They load all these large docks off at the launch ramp, and they put them together in sub-assemblies and float them across the marina, and then just attach them where the old docks were. These are all finger docks. They're all kind of tipped, but it takes about not even a week to go from it takes about a week to go from demolition to the main walk, and maybe 8 days to have all the fingers in. So it happens quite quickly. But the devil's in the details, as I always say, and installation of utilities takes a long time. It's tedious and time-consuming, and there's hundreds of feet of water line. There's thousands of feet of electrical wires that have to be run and tested. So that's really what takes the longest time. Once they finish with the installation of utilities, everything is inspected, and then we take about a week for boats to move back in that had been displaced within the harbor, and for the boats in the next finger to move back out. And I'd just like to note, for every single phase, we've been able to accommodate every boat within Santa Barbara Harbor so far. And it's going to get easier because these the docks are smaller, and there's not as many fingers in each dock. So that's been another successful part of this project. The overall completion should be in about 12 weeks, sometime around the middle of January, probably. This phase, the cost is $1,591,000, and that includes a slight reduction for the expansion of F-Finger. To date, we have borrowed, including this phase, we'll have borrowed about $10,714,000 from the Division of Boating and Waterways. We're hoping that there'll be room in our budget to pay for Phase 8 out of our capital fund, and so this would be the total debt for the entire phases 1 through 8. So that's our goal. Moving over to the wharf, made some progress on the Stearns Wharf guardrail project. The project includes upgrade to existing guardrail to meet current code requirements and installing guardrail along the seaward finger where there currently is none. The project was originally reviewed by the Harbor Commission in June and recently approved by the Architectural Board of Review in August. The Architectural Board of Review had us look at several different alternatives that were mocked up out on Stearns Wharf. Some of the board members and some of the harbor commissioners went out and took a look. It was a little bit of the first time we met with them. It was a little bit difficult for them to kind of give us direction on where to go, but fortunately the last meeting that was quite clear on what they wanted to do. And on a 3-2 boat, they came up with using alternative number 1, which I'll show you in a moment, adding 2 boards to most of the existing guardrail and installing a cable rail out towards the end. And I'd like to thank Commissioners Sloan and Kramer for attending that meeting that day. The previous meeting was a little more interesting, but since you were there, it went smooth, and I appreciate that. So the existing guardrail looks like this. It's a top board is slightly slanted, and then the 2 horizontal boards, 2x6s. Alternative 1, we need to add just 2 boards. You have to make sure that there's no opening greater than 4 inches to meet current code requirements. And the vast majority of the existing guardrail will have this alternative on the order of about 4,000 feet. But the Architectural Board of Review wanted to preserve views out towards the end where there currently is no rail, so we came up with this alternative. It's a cable rail alternative. Most of it's cable. We do have some horizontal boards there to kind of maintain the structural integrity of it. There's quite a bit of tension on those cables, and you need to have something to kind of help tension it. And this is going to go, you can see on this map where they all go. The blue is where the existing rail will be upgraded. That little green section I'd like to note, there's currently no rail there, but we're going to install the alternative one, and we're going to try to make it so that it's easily removable. We had several comments related to the potential to load and offload cargo in the future if the harbor's closed or for whatever reason. And that particular area, there used to be a crane pad there, so it's kind of beefed up to begin with, so it's a logical place to go ahead and do that. And then the area in red is where we'd have this cable guardrail, and this is that section looking at it. There's picnic benches where people can eat and just enjoy that access and exposure to the ocean, so I think they'll appreciate that. A rough cost estimate is probably $200,000 to $250,000. We're going to work up a more detailed cost estimate here in the not too distant future. This is probably going to be installed in phases. We'll probably do the cable rail first, and then a combination of staff working on it, or contractors doing a couple hundred feet a year of the existing guardrail. I think we'll work where there is no guardrail first, and then slowly but surely catch up with the whole thing. And when we bring the CIP back to you, we're probably going to have this project or a major component of it in the CIP, either in multiple years, or we'll just do the first big push and then do the rest by staff. So that concludes my report this evening, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have a question?
I think this is a job well done. Thank you very much. I think it's great that you're continuing to look at the idea of being able to have a section that would be removed should we have a larger ship or need to do it. Thank you.
I have a, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I just wanted to know, with the Sawzall, I'm sure you guys are out there watching the project. What happens to the tailings, all the trimmings that are coming off as they're shredding the old docks?
Chair Sloan, Commissioner McIntosh, they use nets and whatnot to try and capture the areas right where we're cutting. A lot of it does come apart with nuts and bolts, but there's conduit hung along the sides, and that has to be cut and recovered. But we're pretty diligent about making sure there's no debris in the harbor, or very, very little. So we have all the nets out there and some boom material and a few other things, kind of conventional. So we watch them closely.
Thanks.
I had a couple of questions. Just to refresh everybody's memory, when does Phase 8 start, and what does it include?
Chair Sloan, Phase 8 includes A, B, C, and D fingers, the smallest fingers, and it'll be the same time next year. It might be, in the fall, like this phase, or it might be more towards January, February, March, kind of depending on the construction schedule for Bellingham Marine Industries.
Okay.
And that'll be it. Then we'll be done.
Right. And then, unless it's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. And then for those that might be watching and saw that we're going to have a few new extra slips, what's going to be the process for assignment of those?
Those slips will be assigned off the waiting list, and Mick Fromm, our Harbor Operations Manager, will be taking care of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, new business. Would you like to read the recommendation, Mrs. Prudinsky?
Yes, item 4, Waterfront Department Fiscal Year 2016 Preliminary Budget Review. Recommendation that Harbor Commission receive a staff report providing a brief summary of the Waterfront Department's revenue and expenditures as of June 30th, 2016, and provide comments as appropriate.
Mr. Bossy.
Good evening, Commissioners. As Jeanette just stated, this is a preliminary budget review, and I just want to stress the fact that these are preliminary numbers. We don't anticipate a whole lot of change. There will probably be little tweaks here and there, but as far as we can tell, these are the numbers. So I'm just going to jump right into it. As far as our fiscal year 2016 revenue, overall, we came in 9.6% ahead of our budgeted revenues, or proposed revenue, I should say. And I'm going to go through each of our different revenue programs here. We have property management, financial management, parking services, and marina management. So I will go through each of these and point out different aspects of each of them. First off is our property management. Overall, property management was 14.3%, or just under $730,000 over our budget. A proposed budget. Our wharf commercial was up $66,000, and going all the way down to harbor food service up $191,000. So you can tell the harbor continues to do a bustling job with food service. And our cruise ship revenues were up $143,000. That's primarily due to an increase in the number of ships. It's pretty much a static number with each ship for the most part. So we had a few more ships in fiscal year 16 than we did in 17. I believe we ended up with 27 in fiscal year 2016, and I believe we are scheduled for between around 28 for this fiscal year. Financial management. This revenue program is governed by our finance department, so they do this for us. Our interest income revenue for fiscal year 2016 totaled $115,000, and that was up, believe it or not, $19,000 or 14% over the prior year's budget. We'll probably see this continue to decline a little bit, and that's primarily because we've paid off some of our loans, which is a good thing, obviously, and so there's less money in there for the finance department to invest for us. So in this sense, a reduction is kind of a good thing because we're taking off some big loans off our plate. Parking services continue to do a great job. The revenues continue to increase. Obviously, there's got to be a point in which it stops. We only have so many parking spaces. But overall, up just under 9% or $235,000. And really, as we go through each of these slides, just to go back a little bit, especially for our new commissioners, fiscal year 2015 was an amazing year. It was the best year that the Waterfront Department ever had on every level. Every revenue category did remarkably well. And so fiscal year 16 was down a little bit, but not too much. So when we compare these things, a lot of our tenants say, well, I'm down, but they're just down a little bit, and it's over their best year ever. So everybody's doing quite well. Stearns Wharf, as far as parking, is that's the elephant in the room there. And that is, I believe, a combination of things. One is we changed our parking program out there last year from 90 minutes free if you were validated by one of the business owners. The idea being you had to spend some money there and then they'd validate it. The program really wasn't being used that way, and the tenants were fine getting rid of it. Another component of the reason why we wanted to get rid of it was because the new ski data system out on the wharf, which is the gates and the entry and the computer system, if you stamp those tickets and then put them in the machine, it voids the warranty, and that ink quickly builds up in the machine and destroys the machine. And that was about a $230,000 investment on the wharf that we didn't really want to blow out the first couple months. Other things that could lead to the possible decline, there's a whole lot of construction going on at the base of State Street. A lot of the ingress and egress has been shifted around as they move with the Cabrillo Bridge project from one side to the other. Going west, you can't make a left turn onto Stearns Wharf anymore, so that gets a little confusing for people. Thankfully, in July, State Street was opened up, so that should help bring more people out there. We do monitor the number of pedestrians that go out there as well as the number of vehicles, so we'll keep you apprised of that, and hopefully from here on out we'll see that change a little bit, especially with the businesses coming online as part of the major construction down on Lower State Street. Outside of that, our Garden Street lot continues to do better. This used to be one of our most underperforming lots. Now it's one of our higher performing lots as far as percentage of increase. You've got a lot of people down in the funk zone, and now with the opening that was created as part of Carl and his staff towards the back side of that, people can park there and easily access the funk zone. And we anticipate when, again, Lower State Street starts to come online, that lot is going to be very impacted, and I think we're going to see some very solid revenues from here on out from them. Harbor Main lot, again, up $101,000. Our Harbor West lot and our Ledbetter lot as well, both up considerably for fiscal year 2016 over what we had budgeted. Our Marina Management Program, up $301,000 or 5% over the budget, and our visitor fees dipped off a little bit, about $24,000. Primarily, this generally happens when we're doing the various phases of the Marina One project. It's part of it. We want to take care of the folks who are already in the harbor first, and then we can deal with our visitors second. So that dipped a little bit, but I anticipate it likely will again this year with the next phase. Our slip transfer fees up again, $280,000 over what we had budgeted. We generally budget about $575,000 in slip transfer fees. It's it's a hard one to pinpoint. Last year, we did $1.2 million in slip transfer fees, which was, it's double what we budgeted. We've never seen anything like that. So we thought there's no way we're going to get that close again. And we weren't that close, but we did pretty darn good. And then our wharfage and dockage was up a little over $14,000. Moving into the expenditure side of things, I'm not going to go through each of these categories, but I will touch on a number of them. Overall, our expenditures were down about 4.25%, or $640,000 under budget. And I'm going to run through again some of these larger ones, or more notable ones. Our salaries and benefits totaled a little over $6 million through June 30th. This is the sixth consecutive year that we've been under budget as far as salaries and benefits. Our budget target was a little over $6.2 million. And again, we came in 3.15% below. A good part of that, we've had some retirements, Harbor Patrol and others, who, when those folks leave, they're at the top step. They've been there for quite some time. They move out, and a younger crew comes in, and they start at the bottom, so their salaries and benefits are significantly lower than the folks who departed. I shouldn't say departed. That sounds kind of morbid. Retired. That's a better word. Our supplies and services, just over $2.9 million overall in expenditures. And our budget target was just under $3 million. So we're down about 3.12%. And again, our supplies and services include everything from electric bills, our advertising, our vehicle fuel, tools, janitorial supplies. It's kind of that big catch-all for a lot of our expenditures. Our debt service. Debt service seems to continually come in under the budget. And that's primarily due to timing issues with our Division of Boating and Waterways payments. It takes them a while to process these things, 6-8 months and beyond. But we want to make sure we budget the appropriate amount in case they do become more timely. And so we want to make sure we have that money. And don't worry, they'll catch up to us. So we're not getting away with anything. So that money that we didn't spend this year will be caught up in future years as well. I would anticipate our debt service will continue to go down, again, by paying off various loans, which, again, is a good thing, although it does, in fact, impact our interest. But, again, that's a small number. So total expenditures, again, down just under 4.25%. We were at just under $14.5 million through June of 2016. And as you can see, there was our budget target of just over $15.1 million. This chart, this is something we like to take a good look at throughout the year and as we plan out future programs and projects. Every year, I should say just about every week, we continually update our 6-year annual cash flow. And we do that for a number of reasons. First, obviously, to know where we are financially. Second, it's important as we plan out future capital projects, just to see where we're at and what we need to do. Now, the bottom red line is our Harbor Preservation Fund. And that is our baseline. We have to have a minimum of $2 million in that fund. That Harbor Preservation Fund also acts as our construction fund, if you will, our capital fund. So the green line that's doing a whole lot of arching there is our ongoing Harbor Preservation Fund. You can see, again, in years around when you go right out from 2013, 2014, 2015, 2015, it gets very high. Again, that was our best year ever. 2016, it's a little lower. And then 2017, you can see that significant drop. It's about a little over $2 million drop. And the idea with that is the paying off, I shouldn't say paying off, would be paying for the final phase of the Marina One program, if we choose to do that. So that's where you'll see the Harbor Preservation Fund drop, and it drops a little more after that. But we're always above that $2 million mark. And again, this can change depending on your priorities and things like that. This is an aggressive, I shouldn't say aggressive, this is this is an approach to paying off our debt, especially the DBA loan, instead of the 30 years they've given us, trying to push it to 20. So we can change this at any time. We can flatline that out if the Harbor Commission desires. So this is just something we like to keep an eye on. Our operating fund, as you can see, in early teens, it kind of went up and down. Now it's on a kind of slow, gradual push, about 2 to 3% a year, based a lot on what our finance department gives us as far as numbers and salaries and things of that nature. So we're looking good. Obviously not as good as we used to, but we like to. If you get too much money in there, City Hall comes looking. 2016, our total revenue versus 2015, and this is the last attachment in your packet for this particular item. Fiscal year 2016, the budget target was almost $13.5 million. We were up 9.6% over our budgeted amounts. However, as I said, again, 2015 was an amazing financial year for the department. So we were not quite 2.5% below fiscal year 2015, which in my eyes, that's an okay place to be after the banner year that 2015 was. So that's how we compare versus 2015. Down a little bit, but still well above what we had budgeted as far as revenues and under as far as expenditures were concerned. You were given a new sheet. There was a correction regarding, I believe it was miscellaneous parking. Is that what it was? And it was we flip-flopped the numbers. Sorry, it was actually up a significant percentage as opposed to down a significant percentage. It was a difference of about $4,500, which didn't affect the overall numbers much, but it's better to have it on the positive than the negative side of things. And that is the preliminary budget review for you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions, anybody? Stephen?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bossy. I've attended a few of the Wharf Merchants Business Association meetings, and it sounds like at most of those meetings, all of their business is down from their perspectives, but these numbers prove out something else. Can you tell me what's going on?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Commissioner Sloan, Commissioner McIntosh, not all of the businesses are down. A number of them are down. I'd say it's 50-50 at most. Again, they are basing it on 2015, which was a banner year for everybody. So they're still well above their curve. They are all making money. But yeah, some have been down versus 2015. And again, we try to, when we meet with these folks, and then we're always trying to look at ways to help our tenants out. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. One of the things we have planned as part of this fiscal year is they were concerned with the ingress and egress, people getting on and off the wharf. We've added signage as part of the Public Works project down there at the Cabrillo Bridge Replacement Project. When this project is done, when the bridge project is done, we will be installing a new right arrow. As you come off the wharf, there will be a dedicated right arrow. So what happens now, especially in the summertime, is traffic gets backed up. People can't get off the wharf. You maybe because pedestrians are going when people are trying to go right. So you may get 1 or 2 cars at a time. That doesn't work. That also ends up costing us on the parking revenue side of things because there comes a point where it's backed up so far, we just have to get people off and just let them go free of charge at those times. So with a dedicated right arrow, we're hoping that'll speed people off the wharf. It'll create more interchange of parking on the wharf and get more people out there to visit these shops. So that's one of the things we're doing to help them out. They're very happy about that. They've been wanting that for quite some time. We continue to look at traffic options with the city's traffic engineer, Derek Bailey, as part of the construction process. If there's any way, speeding up lights, slowing down lights, adding more time to lights, things like that he can do. So they're constantly looking at that. But I think the area as a whole right around there is that construction's having an impact, definitely. So it'll be nice when it goes away. And I would imagine and they know this too, they're holding on. I mean, they're nowhere near being in any sort of financial difficulty, but they're holding on for the opening of the Lower State Street. I think it's going to make an enormous difference for the wharf in that entire area. You're going to see a lot more people down there.
What's the timing of that?
Most of that construction, and there's probably 8 or 10 or 12 different construction projects down there, are supposed to be wrapped up around February, March of 2017. So pretty soon here.
All right, thanks.
Has the foot traffic fallen off?
Commissioner Sloan, great question. So as I said earlier, we do monitor our pedestrian traffic,
Right.
and we also monitor our automobile traffic. The interesting thing, was interesting to me, is that the automobile traffic is actually up, which I wouldn't think that would be the case with all the problems coming in and out. But the pedestrian traffic has been down through this calendar year, about 30,000 fewer people out on the wharf. That could be a combination of things. People see the construction and they're already walking and just stay away. That's why we've tried to increase signage and things like that. It's been a little different weather than it has been in the past couple of summers. It's been nice, but not quite as nice. So I think it's a combination of things. But yeah, the pedestrians are lower.
That's on about 1 million people. How many?
Yeah, a little over 1 million people per
Yeah,
year.
so it's 3%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so far.
Put it in context.
Yeah, and over the last couple of months, we've seen an increase. It was primarily in the spring, which was interesting, the lower amount. So,
Okay, great. Okay.
Still with the wharf and parking, and maybe I missed it. You said that we've taken away the free 90 minutes. So is it what is the system on the wharf now with tickets?
sorry, maybe I confused the point. So, prior to fiscal year 2016, there was 90 minutes free parking if your ticket was validated. The idea behind that, and I think it said you had to buy $5 worth of merchandise. That wasn't always the case. People would just kind of stamp it. So the tenants weren't against getting rid of that. It was kind of a pain for them as well. So now what it is it's just 90 minutes free, no validation required. So like a lot of other downtown parking lots are primarily 75 minutes free. So you've got 90 minutes free, no validation required. Just have your ticket, go out, and it's free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With respect to the final phase of the Marina One renovation, there was a mention that it might be done out of existing capital funds rather than get a loan. Is there an estimate for what that, maybe premature, but do you have a rough estimate of what that final phase is going to cost?
Sheriff Sloan, Commissioner Sly, it's about $1.5 million. They're all right around there, anywhere between 1.4 and about $1.7 million.
Any other questions? I had one. Have we seen the new cruise ship pricing model kick in, and how does that compare to the old one?
Chair Sloan, that went into effect with the new fee resolution on July 1st. And since we don't have any cruise ships in the summertime, we haven't seen anything yet. So by the end of this month, we'll probably have a few in. But we did some analysis. Dominique is our administrative analyst, and she did some analysis on the $5 for everybody on the manifest versus $7 for just passengers, and it was about a wash.
Right.
Some of the ships will get more, and some will get less, but it's about a wash.
But we haven't seen the effects of that yet.
Right, and that's what we thought was going to be with Stearns Wharf with the 90-minute validation versus 90 minutes free. It's functionally, it seems to be the same thing, but somehow we're off on that. So hopefully,
But the automobile traffic's up, so more cars are coming out, but they're staying 90 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, but
yeah.
So we can report out on that, more towards the end of the year.
Yeah, just when we get some effect. Okay. Anything else? All right. Next item on the agenda is the number 5.
Yes.
Resolution.
Item 5, proposed amendment number 1 to lease agreement 22237 with West Marine Products, Inc. Recommendation that Harbor Commission review and recommend City Council approval of amendment number 1 to lease agreement 22237 with West Marine Products, Inc. including a new 10-year lease term with 2 5-year options for the 4,258 square foot retail space at 132 Harbor Way, Suite C, at a rate of $8,303 per month, subject to annual cost of living increases.
Good evening, Commissioners. West Marine Products bought the Chandlery business and assumed control of the lease via lease assignment back in June of 2002, and they've been operating there ever since. West Marine's current lease is up this November, and West Marine is committed to staying in the harbor. They like being there. They like their presence there. They like their shop in Who Wouldn't. It's a great location. And they recently approached the Waterfront Department to amend their current lease, noting that this particular option was coming up. And staff believes it is important to maintain that retail boat supplies dealer in the harbor as an anchor tenant. It's a very large space, very hard to fill, and they do a good job filling that space. The basic terms of the lease, the only thing that would change is the term, and that would be adding a 10-year initial term with 2 5-year options. Their base rent will continue to go up on a CPI basis annually, and there would be no other changes to the current lease. It would just be amending that time frame with a new 10-year term and 2 5-year options. They do occupy a large space in the harbor. I think everybody's been to their shop. They're right below our offices, and I hear them going in and out of there all the time. So that ends my particular presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Are they a tenant in good standing?
They are a tenant in good standing, pay on time, have a world of insurance, so we're happy with their operation.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're good. Okay.
Okay, item 6, proposed license agreement with Wash Multifamily Laundry Systems. Recommendation that Harbor Commission review and recommend City Council approval of a 5-year license agreement with 1 5-year option with Wash Multifamily Laundry Systems for a 156 square foot laundry room located at 307 Shoreline Drive.
Good evening, Harbor Commissioners. It's kind of interesting. This is going from one of our biggest tenants to one of our smallest tenants. The current 7-year license agreement for the Harbor Laundry Room, which is located outside Marina 4, recently expired on August 31st of 2016. Now, Wash Multifamily Laundry Systems was chosen to be the most qualified company through a competitive request for proposal process back in 2009, and they've operated the Marina 4 laundry room ever since. Wash has laundry rooms in over 70,000 locations throughout the United States and Canada. They provide laundry service for UCSB here locally, as well as Cal Poly up in San Luis Obispo, and numerous local condominiums and apartments. They have been in business since 1947, and they are definitely a leader in the laundry industry. They recently installed 6 new energy-efficient washers, as well as 6 new energy-efficient dryers. They are always working with us to find ways to reduce electric use, water use, and things of that nature. So they're very good about that, and they also keep the machines up and running. The department provides the utilities as well as the daily janitorial service. We do that through our contract with Work Inc., and you'll see those folks down there every day. And to help prevent vandalism and loitering and things like that, excuse me, the laundry room is only accessible to folks with slips and with a key fob, and visitors as well. You'll notice again, as I said, we went from one of our biggest tenants to one of our smallest ones, and because of that, it's a license agreement, but it's an amenity. It's similar to our Echo Wireless internet license agreement, where it's not something that's mandatory, but it's a great service to have for our tenants, for our slip holders, for visitors, and things like that. So consequently, this isn't an enormous revenue generator for the department, but the way we have it set up, it's a very nice convenience for folks to have, both visitors and locals alike. The agreement is a 5-year initial term with a 5-year option, and the rent it's a percentage rent basis. It generally averages about $475 per month. They are a tenant in good standing. They keep good control of the washers. They have to be out there if something goes wrong. They have to be out there in 48 hours and have that fixed and up and running. And again, that paired with our staff and the work ink, it's a very smooth running process and keeps that facility very clean and good looking. And that is my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, what is the percentage?
Commissioner Sloan, Chair Sloan, Commissioner McCray, it's very difficult to explain, and so I can read it if you want. It's an interesting. The percentage shall be based on the average daily income as follows: 0% of a base amount equal to the first $11.64 per day, plus 90% of all monies in excess, less any applicable gross receipts, sales, use, value added, or similar excise taxes. That's why I averaged it out to the $475, because there's some serious math involved there on a regular basis. So it's not like our other percentage leases, thank goodness.
Commissioner Kramer?
Have there been any problems with it? Whenever I've walked by, it always looks everybody happy in there?
Chair Sloan, Commissioner Kramer, we don't have many problems with it. I mean, I walk by there frequently. We're all walking by there on occasion. It always looks clean. When something happens, it's great because, people who are tenants or slip holders, I should say, are quick to report problems with it. So they get out there and fix it. We don't have any issues with it. It's probably the nicest laundry facility in the city, actually.
Curious, how many liveaboards are there now in the harbor? I noticed that the income had gone up slightly.
Yeah, I think we're about 100, 103. So it's increased over the last couple of years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I had one. I noticed in the report we talked about putting a new solar water system on the roof. What's that going to cost?
Chair Sloan, we have one on there. We put it on
okay.
several years ago. There's a couple 50-gallon tanks that are solar-heated tanks that feed the water heater itself, so it doesn't use as much energy to heat it up.
Oh, okay, so we're not going to replace that.
We don't have any
Okay,
plans to.
it
Right
says here a new one. Maybe new being 2 years old,
yeah,
several years old.
it's not that
Okay.
old. We did it a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm somewhat familiar with laundry operations, and it's hard to make any money, and there always seems to be a problem every day. So I commend the staff for keeping it outsourced. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. All right. Would someone like to make a recommendation?
Move staff's recommendation.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, unanimous. All right. Commission staff communications. Do you have anything?
Mr. Chair, nothing from staff this evening.
Commission? All right. Someone want a motion adjournment? Move to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You can stick around if you do. No.